Hey there, welcome back to our channel. Today we are diving into the intriguing world of African folklore, exploring the concepts of witchcraft, magic, and sorcery. These terms might seem mysterious, but they offer us fascinating insights into traditional and modern societies. So, let's get started. Before we get deeper into the nature of African witches, let's first look at the similarities between African witches and European witches. Scholars have noted the similarities between African and medieval European witch beliefs. The following are some of the attributes they share. Social order. Witches in societies in Europe and Africa are mostly nocturnal. The power that the witch wields can help the witch turn into any form or become invisible. Both European and African witches can fly through the air, often at great speed. Witches also have an alter ego in both European and African folklore. The alter ego is also called a familiar. So a familiar can be a wild animal or a bird of some sort. In both of these societies, you find that witches meet together periodically to collectively enhance their power and to plot new evil against the society. Witches in both societies also spread disease. They can steal the souls of children, and at their gatherings they engage in all forms of sexual depravity. There are also ritual murders and all sorts of sacrifices, whether of animals or of human beings. Witches eat all sorts of weird things and sometimes are accused of cannibalism. But some of the most abhorrent things that witches are accused of in both societies is that they cause debilitating illness that eats slowly the life force of the sufferer. So when you're writing a fantasy about African witches, there will be very many similarities between your witch characters and the witch characters in European folklore. In subsequent videos, we are going to look at the characteristics, the detailed characteristics of witchcraft. But first, let us look at what the terms witchcraft, magic, and sorcery mean. Usually, they are used interchangeably. In African folklore, these terms have distinct meanings. Sometimes they are collectively labeled as juju. You will see, if you look at the historical records, colonial agencies and missionaries viewed them negatively, branding them as satanic or primitive. However, they hold significant importance in African cultures and beyond, offering insights into cosmological ideas and societal dynamics. Let's start with magic. This practice involves using symbols to control power and influence things without relying on spiritual assistance. 4 fundamental beliefs underlie magic: the interconnectedness of all things, communicable power in everything, the connection between symbols and their meanings, and the idea that symbols take on the power of what they represent. So when you look at magic in African societies, you see that everything in the world is connected. And there is the use of symbols. And these symbols take on the power of what they represent. So like eggs can be used in fertility magic, horns in some other types of magic. There's also the use of brooms, fly whisk, staff, masks, and even representation of female genitalia. Magic is accessible to anyone and can be performed openly to enhance efforts or bring good fortune. You see, in European societies, there were special people who could wield magic. But in African societies, everyone has access to magic, and this would be important to use in, your fantasy stories based on African folklore. So, one example of how magic is accessible to everyone in society is when we look at hunters, before, or priests, before maybe they go on dangerous adventures, or before they perform their dangerous professions, they use magical protections. And also healers and herbalists use magic. Colors play a symbolic role in magical practices, with each color carrying distinct meanings. Colors are used symbolically in magic. So, for example, red stands for vitality in African societies. When you look at European folklore, witches tend to either be in gray or in black. In African societies, it is different if you look at the folklore. So cultural activities reflect the belief that human actions impact nature, and that's, we go back to the interconnectedness of everything. And even wrestling or other rituals might hold magical implications. So in African societies, you find that before every action, there's a magical practice. So before you go out wrestling, maybe there's a pouring of libation. When a woman is pregnant, the different magical rituals carried out to protect her. So magic is also used for healing, protection against sorcery, and even in modern contexts, in sports or conflicts. Now, there are two forms of magic, or two types of magic, that you will find in most African societies. The first form you'll find is sorcery. Now, sorcery in African folklore and in African traditions is considered to be a negative type of magic that disrupts the natural order and causes harm or imbalance. Sorcery materials are openly sold as juju items in markets. Although the practice is often secretive, it's sometimes linked to harmful activities like curses or even theft of children's souls. So you see where the confusion between what is sorcery and what is witchcraft comes in. Sorcery is feared, and its attributes include image magic, where the representation of a person is harmed, to affect them. So you look at voodoo dolls and so on and so forth. Sorcery is used for social control, and the practitioner of sorcery uses speech or different types of actions to wield their magic. So you find them, they can curse you, and they can also express ill will about you. So that's how they, carry out their powers. And they also use some objects that have symbolic meaning. I saw this in a book. I'll put the reference of the book where a boy, bought a padlock and used it to to lock down a football team from defeating his team in a football match in their village. Now, witchcraft, unlike sorcery, is innate magic. It's an inherited ability. In African folklore. The difference that it has from sorcery is that the person who has witchcraft power within them really can't extract it. Like, it's innate, they cannot get rid of it. The witchcraft power operates independently, sometimes even without the bearer's knowledge, and is often considered evil. So you find that someone who has inherited this, witchcraft magic, just by being angry or envious, that magic can seep out of them and affect the people around them negatively. So you find in the concept of the evil eye, and it's all over the African continent, from the south all the way to the north. There are many examples of people wearing all sorts of charms to protect themselves from the evil eye. So other things about witchcraft in African folklore includes their nocturnal activities, shape-shifting, and their connections with death. Obviously, this makes witches outlaws in their society, and very horrible things can happen to a witch. So you can take that into account when you're writing about you're writing your African inspired fantasy. So across these concepts, certain attributes are common, like the belief that witches can spread disease. You see that in both European and African folklore. In these societies, mostly women who are suspected of being witches, and the social implications of witchcraft in these societies is also seen as significant. So you'll see in African societies there are all sorts of magical defenses, all sorts of actions that people engage in to protect themselves. These include, spiritual aids, such as masquerades or secret societies. All these things are used to protect from magic. So there you have it. Witchcraft, magic, and sorcery are not just mysterious concepts. They reflect complex belief systems that have shaped African cultures for generations. As we explore these ideas, we gain a deep understanding of universal human fears and the intricate ways societies perceive and interact with the supernatural. Isn't it amazing just how similar the concepts of witchcraft are all over the world? If you look at Asian societies, you also find some similarities in the way they perceive these kinds of magic, in their societies. So, yeah. Thank you for joining us today, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more captivating exploration of different beliefs in African folklore. Yeah, I'm planning to come up with more videos, talking about sorcerers and witches and oracles and mages and herbalists and healers and seers, and how you can use this in your African fantasy. This is all about the uniqueness of African fantasy. Until next time, stay curious.